Alright guys, so today we are going to begin a topic called as SQL subquery. In order to understand SQL subquery, let's take a very simple example of one of the easiest queries that we've written, which is select star from, let's say the table name is employees. Now this is something which is very easy, which is very straightforward. This will give the entire data of the entire table called as employees. Now let's apply a simple where clause on this one. Now I don't end the query over there. I take it down and say that, let's say where department ID is equal to 60. Now this is my query, right? So I want SQL to fetch the entire data of the entire department where the department ID is equal to what? 60. This is my condition. Now, one thing about this condition is that it's hard-coded. It's hard-coded means I have actually given the department ID over here and the department ID is 60. I want to fetch the entire data of the department ID 60, so I have hard-coded the condition over here. Now, if I take you guys to a situation where I don't know the department ID, but I know something else about the department. For example, I know that the department ID that I'm talking about is the department where Aman is working. Aman is the name of an employee. Aman is working there. So what I want over here is, let's say if I had to fetch the department ID of Aman. So I'll write a different query over here, which say select department ID from employees where first underscore name is equal to in quotes. This is where I end the query. Now this entire query over here is going to give me the department ID of Aman. Now if I put this over here and instead of writing a fixed department ID, I want that department where Aman works in. So in a way what I'm trying to do is, I'll just clear this up, or rather I probably will remove this particular portion. Right now, if I want this query to be put in over here, this will be called a subquery. That is, here, instead of hard coding the condition, I'm actually giving a logic over here, right? So I'll just remove this for the time being. Instead of hard coding the condition, I give a logic, and that logic's output, this logic is something called as subquery. And this logic's output becomes the input for this particular entire logic and fetches me the data which I require. That is, here I write that subquery where I've written select department ID from the employees table where the first name is equal to Aman. This is what I've done, right? This is where the query is. Now, if I write this entire logic here, the output of this is the department ID where Aman is working, and this output becomes the input for this particular department ID, and hence the entire data is fetched. This is the meaning of SQL subqueries. That is, there is a query inside a query, right? This is also called as nested query. Let's see how we see that in my SQL database. I'm using this particular database called as HREMP. Now here I write the query select, let's say star from employees, enter where department underscore ID is equal to. Now I end the query and I run the okay, no database is selected, so I probably forgot to run this one. It's okay. I'll run this, and this way I'll be using the HREMP. Now, if I run this particular query, I get something like this. This is the data of all the employees who are working the department ID 50. Now, let's say I don't have the department ID, and instead I want to fetch the department ID through the information that the department where Aman is working. Okay, so I would write another query over here, and that query is something like this. I write a subquery, parenthesis open, I write select department from employees where the first underscore name, that's the name of the column, is equal to Aman. Okay, so it's showing error. Okay, where the, I'm so sorry, I should not have written the, right. Okay, so this is a SQL subquery. Now, let me show you first what happens if I run this query alone. Right, if I run this query alone separately, and let me put it over here. Let me put it over here, and I'll just take this towards the start. All right, and I'll write S and colon, and if I run this, it's going to give me the department ID of Aman. Now, if I use this query and put it over here, this entire query, right, this entire query is going to give me the output of 50, and that's when the outer query realizes that the department that I'm looking for is actually department ID 50. So I'm not hard coding the department ID, but I'm basically giving a logic to SQL to understand what department am I talking about. Now if I just click over here and run this, I'll get exactly the same data without actually putting in the exact department ID, because here what I've done is I've actually put in a condition. This is the condition I'm talking about. This is that subquery. This is called as subquery, where I've given a logic to fetch. The output of that logic is acting as the input of this particular query and hence fetching the entire data. This is how we do subqueries. Now in the upcoming videos, we'll see some more examples of subqueries. We'll see some more complicated examples of subqueries. And this is something which is very, very important, because this is fetching the data logically rather than, hard coding the data every time, right? So let's see those.